So, I'm gonna talk about this right now. So, here's the thing about, I don't know, did this stop? No, it's not. Okay. So, here's the thing about, okay, that's difficult. Yeah, so let's look at what the problem is with a lot of the models that I see, right? I am SJW. I fully accept one because you don't have any. So here's the thing: SJWs make the most money being contrarians. That is why I see a lot of money in this field, right? But the problem is, people have to understand how to be perpetually triggered, right? In a financially commercialized way, right? I see it. I see a lot of potential, right? You get triggered over the right causes, and you get triggered for the other causes. That's why I keep talking about this. This is a very profitable model. If they're flexible, if they're open to doing what they did, that that got their attention when they got triggered in Donald Trump. If they're willing to do it for both sides, I see the money there. See, I picked this side out of my own conviction for those who have a more established following. Right? Imagine just, I forgot that chick's name, but she has like that little pink beanie cap. She was triggered when Donald was like, ah, right? Imagine if they did that for the left. That's Candace Owens right there. Yeah, it is. And you just adopt their point of view, and then you have both people triggered debate each other. Yeah, you just do that. Alex Jones, right? No offense, operates like an SJW, just hasn't fully integrated and realized that yet. Yeah, and you just do it. And you just both engage in the spats. And all you need to do is add InfoWars supply chain operations to your field. And you have something really deadly. Yeah, people don't like talking about this because you can't talk about the right, but the right, like if you're an SJW, you are best friends with Alex Jones. There's a business opportunity if you guys are willing to do both sides. You just strip and, no offense, you don't have to go that far. Yeah, just strip and just show your fat bill. It adds the appeal, of course, right? Because you're LARPing. It's funny. And you just start I'm gonna sell you some water filters on HuffingtonPost.com, right? Infowars.com, whatever, SJWwars.com, right? Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, that's where Alex is. It's WWE, right? That's politics. It's funny. It's entertainment. It gets people engaged with the polls, right? Oh, here's this evil left-winger, right? It's like, huh, that's weird. You were at SJW for the left before. Why are you attacking the left all of a sudden? And then you could just say, I found the right side. You don't believe it, of course. Right? And SJW, I can tell you, you don't know if you believe in Candace Owens. You just say, yeah, I'm advocating for your side. Why do you care, right? That's the right response. Right? I'm arguing your points now. Right? Now, it's like a relationship. It's like, well, I married a left-wing wife or whatever, right? She's right-wing now. So, well, you just change your political affiliation when you're in a relationship. Same thing. People don't care. You don't care when you change. People change all the time. Do you care? Do I care? No, you don't. You just have different incentives at the time. Political beliefs always change depending on economic circumstances. Economic circumstances are the laws of physics. They're close to it anyways. Pretty convincing substitutes. There's no point. That's why I'm like, well, there's money, and I go where the money is, right? I'm ANCAP. And if those people can generate jobs, maybe I can get a job. For those who are more capable than me, right? They have a following. And this is why I always am a big advocate of it. So anyways, and you don't have to, you can just pretend you're a left wing. It doesn't matter, you have a choice. You can be so dumb you believe in a smart opinion, which is where the route I'm going. Oh yeah, we're going this route. Here's the other thing that you have to understand about the term followers, right? So here's the other topic I want to bring up. Now freeloaders, if you ever studied the term freeloader, you know what that sounds like? Bandit. And those that have always existed in society. You need people that pay stuff, but you also need to integrate people, right, in your camp. You have to allow people to pirate stuff, because otherwise they start, giving you death threats if they don't receive their media product. Because people feel a certain way. So this is how I'm going to introduce you to the world of Jeffrey Epstein. Right? He has a cult. He has people who actually pay stuff, and then he allows people who don't pay stuff to enter the cult by accident, right? Alex Jones, Bohemian Grove. Now that's not actually him, by the way, doing it. He got lit there. I'm just telling you, there's just so many things people don't talk about. Alex Jones isn't trying to get stuff for free, by the way. I will say that much. But here's the complexity of it. People need to. We all know why? Because they'll threaten you. That's why you have to allow them to follow you, right? In that sense. If that makes sense. You have to, because followers will follow you anyways, right? So if you have them officially as followers, you can monitor them and make sure they don't tail you to your house and try to burn your house to get your stuff. That happened back then. Remember the city of Lot in the Bible? So I recall in the Sodom and Gomorrah story, I think they all tried, because I know Lot had a cult. I know there were some findings on this. This happened, and they tried to rape Lot, right? I don't remember Lot, because everyone was gay or something. There were cults, right? It's the same for Epstein. People wanted to, right, do Epstein in. Like, I don't deny Epstein did messed up stuff, but he definitely had followers that didn't want to pay for anything, and if you didn't give them stuff, they would literally go and try to rape you, right? Rape Epstein. There are at least 10% of them. So what do? You integrate them into your camp so you do not feel the urge to F you, right? Without paying, they're not going to pay the membership fee anyways. The other followers are designed to keep them in check, right? This is how the game works. And you see a lot of these examples in the piracy industry, right? Just not as bad. But it's there. There's nothing realistic being discussed in the news cycle. People need to be discussing this. You allow piracy so those people don't rape the social media influencer, right? You know it's gonna happen. You know already the people who pay already do odd stuff, right? Some of them. They feel they're entitled. And it's not there. Right? And there's some of the free people feel even more entitled, right? That's why you do it. Because if you have the police involved, right? Even law enforcement might think about doing it. You don't know. They're big fans. That's why you allow the followers in there, so the fans that are loyal, that are honest and integrity, they keep them in check. And they prevent them from doing more aberrant behaviors, right? So this ties in with the phenomenon known as gang stalking, right? I've seen this happen a lot in a lot of high school clubs. So I observe micro behaviors that are signs of social aberrance, right? It's present in every club, and people don't. And so a lot of club leaders, they don't like thinking about this, but they subconsciously, like, they do a good thing because they witness the social aberrance, so they try to quell it down. People just do stuff randomly by mistake, and they think, well, that's a good idea. And people do that because they don't like thinking about it. It's the human mind, it does not want to think about this stuff, right? So what they do is, why don't you join our club? Don't tail me all the time, right? It's that kind of conversation, right? Hey, you're always staring at your club. Because the next thing you know, if they keep staring, they'll be like, let me get my machete, right? It's happened in the wild before. That's how you counter it, right? Because the club members then can watch you. So, because if you're silently staring there from the shadow, they can't really know what's going on. You're not within their parameter of surveillance. Right? And they may threaten you, right, to get that stuff, because there might be other outcasts in society that might group around you, right? This is why this is to prevent schisms, right? And in the bigger example, it's macro movement. They want to prevent political schisms, right? So if the SJW, let's say there's an SJW follower, he only wants to get stuff for free. You know he's dangerous, right? He's done far right stuff like set up carpet bombs and all this stuff. There's a lot more nuance to this than you think. And they want to join, and he says, "Hey, join my club," and he doesn't want to pay, right? There's no internet. He wants to get it somehow, right? He might want to form his own Chaldeans. I don't know. Like, let's look at the Bible. There's a lot of examples of people engaging in real life piracy. You know, they rob gold from a bank, right? That's piracy, ain't it? Arg, I'm a pirate, right? Right. That's why I'm saying piracy in the digital economy is a very mild version. They have reservations about doing stuff in the days of the old. I'm just being plain about it. People in the old days weren't that plain. They didn't have to be, because they had honest conversations since day one, right? Now, because of the way society's formed, I might as well just have a super brutal honest conversation from the bottom to the top. No need. If you parent your kid, you know, like I said, if you parent well, right? If you're conservative, you let the Holy Spirit do the parenting for you. You don't need to have this conversation. No need. Now, we do need to talk about what happens when you don't do small things correctly. They all have a ripple effect, and they translate to bigger cascades that no one wants to talk about. And they ripple, and they explode. No one wants to do a deep down study of what happens. I did. I can tell you I can create like quick simplified models of what happens when you do one small moral action wrong. I can basically tell, I have this weird talent, and I can tell you what happens when there's a bunch of explosions. People already don't want to talk about this stuff. So, I'm just here to tell you, you need followers that freeload over, because they'll give you death threats that will stick. It's to protect yourself. You have to. It's part of business, right? I don't care. I'm an SJW that recognizes reality, right? If there's a good version of you that LARPs, you know there's a bad version, right, that exists. That does things for the wrong reason. They'll lie about it, of course. Right? For the SJWs, if you're an SJW like me, it's like, forget about me, right? What about the guys who are in every side who want to get stuff for free at any cost? That's the type of people I'm talking about. You know they exist. And if they do want to get stuff for free at cost, what if they can't get it? What if they just want to tofu you? And the real life example, like the outside version, right, without the internet version of piracy, porn sites, is people form their own bandit groups, right? And before you know it, they become an actual thievery group. It always starts out as, hey, look, thief groups, right, rogue groups, always start out as, hey, I want to pirate stuff from this guy, this influencer for free. People, social media influencers back in the days of the old just wanted to forget about it, right? Artists, they just drink beer. I really do not want to think about it, right? I think they should be. It would help them out a lot more. Because now it's like, okay, now I know why I include weird, dubious people in the group. So they don't kill me when I'm walking outside of work. It's checks and balances, so the followers that do the right thing keep them in check. That's why it's called a party. You don't need, like, cops all the time. It saves money, too. That is what the game is, right? Because the bodyguard can't protect you all the time. And the best part of all is if you include those followers, they may protect you for free. I don't know. What you end up doing is you make the argument, hey, look, follower, I know you're going to form a bandit group around me and kill me to get that next Kanye music album with my SJW logo on it. All right, I know you were going to hunt me down, but now, because you're my fan, Let's fan this away with AC. With some AC/DC music, you guys. I'm one of those guys, I can study any messed up layout and tell you what's going on. Here's the fan, right? Here's this anime meme. Now you're monitored. People are not saying when they like stuff. I'm sorry. I can capture the exact moment when people just turn from the saying to insane to getting something. And you can do this pretty easily. You paying for someone's social media is good. You paying for that YouTuber, you watch. There's like this very awkward silence in the room. And you're wondering to yourself, I'm actually very concerned about this, actually. It's like, and it's that silence that makes you think, what if I asked a different question, they gave that same reaction? Hey, because you're not paying for it, you don't get to watch that YouTuber anymore. What would that guy do, right? Imagine that same behavior. What could that transform into, if that makes sense? You know it transforms into arson. It does. It totally does. It transforms to looting buildings, right? Apply that behavior, and you say, well, since you gave me that reaction, I really don't want you watching my stuff. If imagine me being that influencer, right? And I gave that reaction. Are you paying for my stuff? Right? You're a fan. Okay, now I want to shelve you out. See what happens. And they give that same reaction, and let's say it devolves, right? You know what that behavior is. That awkward silence. You know they're going to get a gun. Or it could happen. I can study these micro movements. I know it evolves. It devolves into something really bad. And you say, well, you need to visit counseling. But here's the thing. You can't, because they'll deny it happened so they can get away with it more, right? This ties into gang stalking, by the way. Because this is a good example. You have followers so you can prevent gang stalking. It's a protection insurance. The followers who get stuff for free anyways. And so in that sense, as an SJW, it's necessary to have people that do dubious stuff that make you look bad. Because they're going to do it, and they're going to do it against you. That's one of the best arguments to have. So if you have a bad SJW, the chances are they want to wave ride you, right? You can't do anything because they're going to threaten your life. It goes for Bernie, that goes for AOC, that goes for anyone in the right too. They will. You don't have a choice. You need to protect yourself. Because all they're going to do is form chain groups, and they're going to all team up and all steal stuff from each side collectively. They'll just form their own little criminal group, right? Right? We live in the entropy universe. What can you do? Right? Addictions, right? In the entropy universe, addictions exist. What will you do to get that booze, right? Right? What do people do to get their whiff of cocaine? Right? Isn't that cocaine? Isn't watching a YouTube video like getting a dopamine hit dose of cocaine? You are going to devolve into chaos, right? Some people will. You need to keep that 10% in check. You don't always want to hire bodyguards, right? You need to watch this behavior. It doesn't matter. Microsoft, Apple, right? You see how heated the discussions get? Some of these people don't even buy the products themselves. Piracy exists outside of the world, outside the net already. Like, some people share iPad products, right? People share computer products. People share Microsoft Office products all the time. What happens if they don't get them for free? You know, some of them. You just need 1% of this people to start mass riots in order to get their piracy, right? And that's alone, that's terrifying enough, right? You don't always want to pay bodyguards. This is a concern. That's why you need these freeloaders so you can keep them in check. That's easy. You know they're going to pay for it anyways, right? You have to kind of think about it. Yeah, anyways, this is one of those difficult conversations you need to have, right? Gang stalking is rare because people already do things to prevent themselves from getting gang stalked. As long as you allow followers, you'll see less of it, trust me. Now, if you want to be completely full of bio and venom, it's like, well, I don't care about gang stalking. Well, I'm gonna just shove out the followers who don't pay for my stuff, right? Like, I actually will. There's a difference between saying I'm against it and then I'm gonna actually act on it. And that's why we have the invention of conversion rates, right? We look at the most loyal audience. Those are probably the ones who actually pay for stuff, and the least loyal. So the conversion rate shows you that it's only 20% of your audience, market audience, that claim to be fans of your product that actually buy your stuff. Those are your actual customers. You can figure out through conversion rates. There you go. Problem solved. It's 5 to 10%. You just market to them about different goods, and before you know it, you actually can make more money. Because they're the only ones buying stuff. The more you can get them to spend coffers for you, the more money you make because you're saving operation costs. Yeah, you don't have to advocate to the others because those aren't going to buy your stuff anyways. And the best part of all, even if you sell to them, they'll probably ping back to them someday. Because they know they're going to try to form gangs to steal stuff from you. And if you're wondering if this piracy group, like forming, yeah, all in my opinion, all thievery groups start out as piracy groups. There's very eerie similarities. We all start there. They all do. I want to pirate this music video, right? I can't do it right now. I want it for free. Well, I'm going to loot it from a store, right? Well, since I looted so much free stuff, and this is why people have followers, now I'm going to start my own thief group because now I have experience actually stealing stuff. Let me form more groups, right? This is what happens when you get rid of the piracy altogether. People are going to start stealing shit in general. And something worse than Antifa shows up, right? The worst stereotypical version. Doesn't matter which side. It's bipartisan now because they want to pirate. You will. If you ever been on the internet, you know deep inside there's people out there like that. Remember Black Friday sales in Walmart? It's way more common than you think. People steal stuff from Walmart. This is wide scale. You cannot get rid of piracy, you guys. Completely. You cannot act on that. Trust me, this is an insurance. You do not like it, but this is part and parcel of being a rich guy. Selling stuff in any established economy. You want to flip them off, but you have to include them as followers so you can have a safety check on them. It is what it is, right? And I hate saying that because that sounds like a mundane statement, but that's reality. And I guess that's a better term for it. People don't like hearing the term, it is what it is, but like that is the reality of not allowing piracy. People just act immature, and I always blame poor parenting on that. Because where else can you tie that back into, right? Right? People aren't always taught to throw off gratification. And here's the other thing. It can still exist with good parenting, but it depends on the type of good and luxury good in the industry, right? Right? It's definitely on your mind. Back then anyways. Yeah, because people were shelving out, I think Christianity there is definitely shelving out the Holy Spirit. I'm an atheist. I like to look at the Holy Spirit as a mathematical concept. I'm not looking at it as an actual entity. Right? I just do not look at it as something people should be proud of. It's just what it is, right? People send, like Old Testament trials, right? They use Mother Nature. God is Mother Nature. They send Mother Nature to parent their kids, right? I know something weird happened. And that's how these groups formed. Could be God, could be the village, could be Mother Nature. It's just a bunch of weird stuff, right? So anyways, well, I'm going to end this podcast by saying, never always include followers for who pirates stuff for free. It's sad. And there's another guy, I think that iceberg guy, I think it was like I computer science iceberg. There's some of these animations they take too long, right? You burn out too quickly. Some of these, you look at some of these animation frames, takes too long, 24 minutes. That's like, so here's how this works. So there's each frame is a second, right? There's 60 frames per second. You're dealing with at least 1,200 frames, right? For a 24-minute video with animations. Dude, that's a lot of work. And a lot of people don't pay. And so people will burn out if they keep doing it. Right? Gaijin Goomba did. If you keep doing stuff like that for free and you're not paid a stipend, how is anyone going to keep continuing? This isn't reality, you guys. I can, like I said, I haven't said this before, but I can literally do pseudocode for this entire video skit of like how people design this stuff. I'll literally do a pseudocode series because I've never seen it before. I can tell you it's a depressing reality. That's why programmers are paid, because they did pseudocode. They introduced the pseudocode business model. Where like, here's the implementation of how this all works. I can do one for OpenShot if you want. This takes forever, dude. You cannot expect people, it might not be as bad as programming. Some programmers probably can't animate, right? People think different, but you can't just expect people to like operate free of charge while doing those intense animation footage, right? And they're editing the hues, the color, the brightness, the content. You can't. People can't do stuff for free. People just, I don't know what's with the West. They just live. The East already sort of understands what's going on, right? They understand they have to go without pay for a while. The West kind of just, as an SJW, you have to understand the film model is simply not sustainable. So if anyone wonders why conservatism seems to rise all the time, it's because while it is true that, and I have to agree, that the left appears to have taken over Hollywood culture, there is a bit of gaslighting over like whether that's a sustainable business model. You still have to act like a conservative to maintain your profit ratios, right? Right, and you look at the response, like how much people are willing to pay social media. You ever wonder why you want to become a conservative? You're like, well, I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay. Well, who do you become at the end of the day when none of your followers want to pay for your stuff? Doesn't matter left or right. You ask. Well, all of a sudden, I'm a conservative in private. In terms of money. Now, if everyone pays, no, your political affiliation changes, right? It starts with money, and then it slowly trickles down. Not entirely, of course. And then once that happens, you slowly think to yourself, I'm a conservative now, actually. At least economically speaking. I'm an ANCAP or whatever, right? I am a libertarian all of a sudden in terms of my money, right? I'm a NIMBY guy. Now, if the public was generous, hey, I'm willing to help you out, right? Everybody give $50 to this guy. That's a different story. I might feel like a progressive now. Or act like one. You can't do anything now. You have to act like a conservative now because we're operating in the world of money. You got to think about your priorities, right? Rather relax, buy my yacht, and do something else. How could you not? Now you wonder, okay, that's why the conservatives rose. And then once you act like conservative, this is how the anti-abortion argument comes to play, right? I'm serious. Suddenly it's like, well, I want to keep more of my... And this doesn't work, by the way. I'll tell you why. Because you're not getting more taxed by supporting Planned Parenthood. You're not getting taxed less by being against Planned Parenthood. Trust me. A lot of the social... There's an argument that a lot of the SSI funds are being ciphered by Planned Parenthood, and they're going right towards there. That's why stuff's getting kicked can down the road. Because a lot of these other departments like extracting funds from each other. And a lot of conservatives, as it turns out, actually support Planned Parenthood. They just like to have sex a lot. I'm serious right now. You do not trust the tax code. That does not change anything. When I studied the government W-2 workforce contracts last time, trust me, you will not be taxless, okay? Everything conservative support is based on a tax system. You are not taxless if you are against Planned Parenthood. That does not happen. That is why people are against support. Trust me, it changes nothing. It's a waste of time. No, it doesn't matter. And then okay, I'm against abortion. I'm against public schools, right? Yeah, I want charter schools. This is what happens when you think about your money. You're like, well, if I'm against public schools, I get taxed. No, you don't. It's a waste of time. I know at least a lot of them think like that, right? They just don't want to admit it. They don't think. This is why you start being against stuff. Against progressive stuff that you think are sane, if that makes sense. They just don't want to be plain about it. You just want to keep more of your wallet because none of your followers want to pay you, right? You have customers that try to pirate stuff. They try to share stuff. You don't feel happy about it. So you express your dissatisfaction in other manners, if that makes sense. You do. And then it's like, and then before you know it, these very same people are hypocrites, right? They claim they're fans. Then you start expressing your dissatisfaction, because you see it every day, right? You can't express it openly. Hey, you're not paying for my stuff, right? So you start saying, well, I'm going to change my political views. I'm going to take my anger on the geopolitical stage and express it in some other manner. Before you know it, you're NIMBY, right? Because you can't bring it openly to society. Hey, you need to pay for my stuff. That's not right. Because they're annoyed. When you don't address it in the first place, it starts coming into the form of other grievances. You see this a lot in a lot of parent bond relationships. So when the kid can't express the dissatisfaction of, and I hate bringing this up because we kind of have to bring this up now. Now, back then, we didn't have to care as much. People at least were honest after high school. Right? They had their own little, because they weren't big on colleges. It is a time for self-reflection for a decade. People used to do that, and then we don't have to have this conversation. Time to go on a pilgrimage, right? We used to have that where we all fixed ourselves, right? We don't have that anymore. So now I have to openly bring up what's going on. Now we have to talk about this. Because before you know it, everyone's taking out their frustration by demanding higher pay to HR, right? Everyone's expressing their frustration in some other form. It manifests itself. If anyone studied Gary Marte, that's pretty much what's going on. Realm of Hungry Ghost, right? Right? It's a very sad world we live in. You can't express it openly, so people express their passive aggressiveness, right? It delves into politics. It seeps everywhere, and it prevents people from looking at things objectively. Being for abortion saves money, right? And why are conservatives starts becoming pro-life? They want more factory slaves, right? Right? No one's playing about it. It depends on the region, and it all does boil down to money, and they always express it in some other manner. And as a conservative, if you're a liberal, right, like, I guess I could consider myself, but I consider myself an SJW. I don't think that's a liberal necessarily. We just align with liberals on social justice causes, right? I am a social justice advocator, but I'm sort of against taxes with the way it's set up right now. Because it doesn't matter what stance you are, anti-abortion, pro-abortion, tax the same. Because the U.S. government likes to play money games with each other. That's why the kick the can memes there, because a lot of these departments try to extract money from each other, right? There's no honesty there. Right? Pro-abortion, right? Let me fix myself. Conservative movement. I want more factory slaves, right? Right. That's kind of how this argument goes. It becomes money, and it says, and you assume if you get more babies, you get more customers, right? That's what's going on here. I'm thinking about my wallet right now. I get free customers, right? Now the liberal is thinking conservatively, ain't he? In this case, because like less kids, I get to save more money. I get less people attacking me, right? See where the compass gets distorted? I love an open conversation on this topic. I don't think people have thought about this before. through about what they're supporting. Yeah, so conservatives do need armies, right? And think about it, Rockefeller's a conservative, right? And if you're a liberal, you can see how you might behave as an anti-tax guy now that I mention it, right? It's like, well, no one's paying me anything, no one's paying for my product, everyone's acting like a conservative in real life, in the free market, right? So I'm encouraged to act like a conservative now, because that's the world we operate in. That's why I don't think communism's possible as an SJW. Because if you look at how people want to buy a PlayStation product, there's a lot of people that pirate off each other, right? How is that possible? Now, if people were kind and generous in general, I would, like, if there was a time period, I would be for communism for a temporary amount of time. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. People act like conservatives. The rise of piracy says it all. And if more people put more money, if everyone put more money, then we would have we could afford to espouse progressive values. Not all progressive values, by the way, sound progressive. The abortion one's definitely not progressive. Less kids means save more money in your own wallet, right? Right. Less kids means less false rape accusations. Right. And then at the same time, liberals are, according to conservatives, are for false rape accusations, right? It gets all convoluted once you smear everyone in one camp or the other. So you got to really think about this. Yeah, I will think about where to go in life. I do know that I don't think the profit models for social media is fair. I don't think any of the celebrities are paid $1 billion, right? Or make $1 billion a year, whatever Kanye is, right? I think they just looked rich. Like a lot of the celebrities, like especially given the payment models, are forced. You ever wonder why there's liberal hypocrisy? It's a product of the fact none of their customers pay for anything. If you're talking about Hollywood, they have a very volatile profit model. So what they're paid for, I think, is in resources. They're not actually getting anything from the artist, because I don't know how many people actually buy Kanye's music album. How many people do? So how does Kanye get compensated, right? So you saw how Kanye begged Zuckerberg for business loans, right? He sort of knows he's not actually a billionaire. So here's how the game works. Zuckerberg gives resources to Kanye in return. So the more Kanye begs, the more resources he gets. Yeah, I don't know if Kanye is actually making the stated dollar amount in Yeezy sneakers. People are sneaky when they look at their financial spreadsheets. They do resource equivalent exchanges already. Because people don't really compensate artists. Think about it. How much piracy exists, right? There's a reason why piracy is a real argument. Because a lot of people aren't paying. Yes, piracy draws in customers, but you're not actually paying for anything. There is a legitimate argument for the fact that piracy helps initially, but it needs to be closed off. It does cause profit loss. There are cases. Once you get big enough. When you're small, it helps a lot, dude. But it also constrains your growth. You have to know when to do it and when to not. It's like a business operation. You can't blame people for conservatives rising. Conservatives are the strongest when it comes to how people behave on the net, right? When it comes to, hey, will you buy this? Well, now you all of a sudden know where the conservatives come from. Not entirely, right? Some of them will believe in some inconsistent stuff. Like, I think people are fibbing on abortion. Because abortion saves money. I don't know why conservatives are against that. So it's not, the people have, that's a product of people not fully integrating themselves into their belief system. Right? Well, even when I was a conservative, I was pro-abortion, right? I'm for Planned Parenthood in a sense, but I'm sort of against it because it's not really giving me less tax money. I'm against it for a different reason. I'm not taxed less if I'm against public schools. What's the point of supporting it, right? I thought conservatives are big on taxes. doesn't mean anything for a lot of conservatives who just happen to fib and just join, right? Yeah, a lot of these celebrities aren't billionaires. They get a house out of pity. Ever wonder how people, quote, purchase a house out of nowhere? These real estate transactions aren't even honest. You need to go ask. All right, look at real estate. Right? How do these transactions conducted? I don't think real estate investors always paid in gold, right? Silver and gold, money, right? I think it's sort of a mercantilist trade and barter transaction, right? They're not billionaires. They display resources that imply they're a billionaire. Why would they tell the truth? It's pretty shameful, and it puts people in trouble. And because Kanye wasn't blunt the first time about how his operations work, right? Right? And that's how you get conservatives to rise. So now you're starting, if you're an SJW, now you understand why conservatives are popular. It's because the consumers behave in a conservative manner when it comes to money. They're called temporary alliances, but you're starting to see why the right gains power. And of course, they're called the far right because none of those conservatives are really speaking out, if you know what I mean. They're here to join for convenience. It doesn't matter how much you're smeared. If you're joining for the sake of convenience, depending on your economic circumstances, it just doesn't matter. Now, then you get political smearing that will affect consumers. So you have something irrational. Political smearing makes people make irrational decisions, right? And then they switch parties. There's that. But now you're starting to see why there's always that stable 30% or so, right? Regardless of scandals. Now you know. And that's why I always talk about ANCAP, because I don't think consumers act in a liberal way. There's no possible way to get any system for a progressive system without a conservative system first, right? You got to learn how to conserve resources before you give out resources, right? Anyways, I'm done with this podcast. It's a long one.